Hey there, movie lovers, and welcome back to Rocky Watches Movies. Today we're stepping into the world of martial arts cinema with a closer look at a true Bruce Lee classic, The Way of the Dragon. From behind-the-scenes decisions to creative choices that shaped the film, there's more to this production than just its legendary fight scenes. So let's kick on with it and explore 20 things you never knew about The Way of the Dragon. For the film, Bruce Lee didn't merely take on the starring role, he also wrote, produced and directed the film, giving him complete creative control over the entire project. The result was a film featuring some truly memorable fight sequences, while also serving as a vibrant showcase of Asian culture to audiences around the world. Originally, Lee had envisioned setting the story in the United States, which would have aligned well with the film's themes and broadened its international appeal. However, the reality of the budget quickly intervened. Filming in America proved far too costly, forcing a rethink of the location. Italy ultimately became the practical alternative, offering a far more affordable option while still providing a distinctive and visually appealing backdrop for the story. Much of the time, Lee didn't have filming permits or official permission to shoot on location. As a result, he would often linger on a statue, for example, capturing as much footage as possible before anyone arrived to question him about permits. You may have noticed that there are a few brief shots inside the Colosseum itself. Lee and his crew had to sneak cameras in under the guise of being tourists, capturing whatever footage they could without being discovered. When Lee's character Tang Lung visits a restaurant for food, he can neither speak nor read Italian. Reduced to guesswork, he points randomly at the menu and ends up with multiple bowls of soup. It's a classic gag reminiscent of a Charlie Chaplin routine, but with a distinct Bruce Lee twist. Unfortunately, the English dub undermines the joke, with both characters speaking English. The language barrier disappears, and the humour falls flat. In the original version, Lung speaks Cantonese while the server speaks Italian, making the misunderstanding genuinely funny. This kind of fish-out-of-water humour runs throughout the film, yet much of it is lost in the dubbed version. To help give the film a broader appeal, Lee brought in several non-Asian martial artists. Bob Wall, who would later appear in Enter the Dragon, was one such choice. Then, of course, there was the casting of the legend Carlos Ray Chuck Norris. Chuck Norris and Bruce Lee first met at a karate competition while Lee was in America working on the Green Hornet in the late 1960s. They quickly struck up a friendship, training and working out together. When Lee later began work on The Way of the Dragon, he recognized that casting such a well-known and respected American martial artist would help the film gain international attention beyond China. At the time, Norris was a multiple All-American karate champion and was held in high regard within the martial arts world. Unfortunately, Chuck Norris passed away on the 19th of March, aged 86. It has often been suggested that Bruce Lee and Chuck Norris had a real fight, meaning they genuinely struck each other within a choreographed sequence, not that they fell out and started trading punches. Some blows appear to connect, while others clearly do not, suggesting the climactic battle may have been an intense sparring session enhanced by clever camera work and editing. Of course, it's also possible there was some genuine contact. Norris remained characteristically vague, simply saying he enjoyed working with Lee, and that the scene is regarded as one of the greatest martial arts fights ever filmed. In truth, no one knows for certain. Norris never gave a definitive answer, and perhaps that's part of the appeal. The cinematic fight sequence accounted for nearly a quarter of the shooting script, a testament to the level of detail Bruce Lee poured into its choreography. It's been said that filming the scene took a combined total of around 45 hours, as Lee pursued perfection, insisting on multiple takes until he was completely satisfied. A significant portion of the fight unfolds in slow motion, captured in medium shots that keep both men in frame, allowing the audience to properly observe these two titans at work. It's a stark contrast to modern cinema, where fight scenes are often fast, frantic, and dominated by tight close-ups. To mask imperfections, and more often than not, the fact that the actors aren't trained fighters, relying heavily on rapid editing and jump cuts. Here, Bruce Lee took the opposite approach. He wanted every movement to be seen, showcasing both his own skill and that of Chuck Norris. The use of slow motion only emphasises that confidence, presenting a fight that feels authentic rather than manufactured. Despite playing one of the film's most memorable opponents, Chuck Norris has very little dialogue. In fact, he speaks just a single line: "Bob's my student." The decision to keep his dialogue minimal ultimately works in the film's favour. Norris's performance relies far more on physicality and screen presence than words, allowing the now iconic showdown with Bruce Lee to speak for itself. The Way of the Dragon was released in Hong Kong in December 1972, but did not reach the United States until 1974. This meant it was filmed before Enter the Dragon, yet released afterwards. As a result, it was retitled Return of the Dragon for its Western release, in an attempt to capitalise on the success of Enter the Dragon, by presenting it as a kind of sequel. While making The Way of the Dragon, Bruce Lee achieved several notable firsts within the Hong Kong film industry. It became the first Chinese film to be shot in the West, and Lee was also the first Hong Kong director to review daily rushes in colour. He insisted on this so he could ensure precise colour matching during editing, particularly when combining footage from Rome with studio scenes shot at Golden Harvest. After Italy was chosen for filming, one of Bruce Lee's goals was to introduce Asian audiences to European culture. In that era, Asian films were typically made in Asia for local audiences, many of whom had little exposure to the wider world. This explains its abundance of establishing shots featuring the streets of Rome, its plazas, statues, and the iconic Colosseum. John T. Benn was cast as the mob boss, following a chance conversation with producer Raymond Chow at a cocktail party. At the time, Ben didn't even know who Bruce Lee was. He later became friends with Lee and his family. In later years, Ben wrote the book Remembering Bruce Lee and went on to open a restaurant in Hong Kong called the Bruce Lee Cafe. Lee teamed up with legendary producer Raymond Chow to found Concord Productions Inc. to make this film, essentially funding it themselves. As co-founder, Lee became the creative driving force, while Chow handled the business side. Following Lee's death, his wife sold his shares to Chow, and Concord Production ultimately folded by 1976. As well as serving as the film's producer, Bruce Lee took on an extraordinary number of additional responsibilities. Remarkably, Lee even contributed to the soundtrack by playing percussion, adding yet another layer to his already extensive involvement. Upon its release, The Way of the Dragon became the highest-grossing film in Hong Kong in 1972, surpassing the already impressive record set by Bruce Lee's earlier hits. What makes this success even more remarkable is the film's modest budget. Produced for just $130,000, it went on to earn an estimated $130 million worldwide, an extraordinary return that equates to 1,000 times its original cost. This was Bruce Lee's wife, Linda Lee Cadwell's favourite of all his films. She felt that Tang Lung was the closest reflection to what Lee was truly like. The character is humble, honest and loyal, and above all, tough, only using his skills when absolutely necessary. Bob Wall's villainous character in the film is referred to as Bob or Tom in the story, depending on which language version you are watching. Yet, somewhat curiously, the end credits list him as Fred. This small inconsistency has puzzled people over the years and stands out as one of the film's more noticeable quirks. In 1978, following Bruce Lee's death, an exploitation sequel titled Way of the Dragon 2 was released, starring Bruce Lee with only one E and Bolo Young. Also known as Bruce Lee's greatest revenge, the film is widely regarded as part of the Bruceploitation trend. Despite its title, it actually shares more in common with the 1972 film Fist of Fury. It follows a young student's attempts to keep peace between a European club and some Chinese students, but he finds himself a victim of hatred. And there you have it, folks. You now know a little bit more about The Way of the Dragon. If you enjoyed the video, which I presume you did as you got this far, hit that like button and subscribe so you don't miss any future videos coming to Rocky Watches Movies. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next one. Bye for now.